Hey Lamomet friends, Zandang here. Just wanted to let you guys know what is next. We are actually going to be showcasing a long-lost audio file way back from actually the Fellowship Walk, where during that Pineleaf actually voiced an orc and also voiced a warg for a little bit, so we're going to be showcasing that, and also the audio show idea that came from that, which the offer at the end of that still does stand, and then after that, we are going to be moving on to our favorite moments from the last 49 episodes of LOTRO Players News. And then after that, as always, we'll have our bloopers for episode 50, assuming there are any, and then we'll be moving on to a recap of some of our favorite bloopers over the last 49 episodes. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
What you're about to hear is a very special episode of LOTRO Players News, where we are actually taking a segment from the Fellowship Walk Leg 4 video, and, let's just say Pineleaf was describing orcs and wargs during this part of the video, and the result was, it was better than we could have hoped for. So without further ado, here is Pineleaf, voicing a warg and orc.
Here, finally.
Yeah. What does an orc sound like?
What does an orc sound like?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, that's radio gold right there.
Recording file and play it on the
Sorry, I don't know black speech all that well.
What about wargs then?
Oh,
Have to save that for the...
I know that's closer to wolves.
We now catch up with Sauron deep in his tower, getting ready to launch an entire army of Pineleaf orcs, the newest breed of orcs in the great fight against the Free Peoples.
Now the powers of Gondor will not stand a chance. I have done it. I have created the ultimate orc, more powerful than anything that has come before. And it has no weakness, aside from a strange urge to do plenty of skirmishes. But aside from that, it has no weakness. Aside from a weird, crazy thing to die all the time in PvP. But aside from that, it has no weakness. And besides, all of the orcs are skirmishers of Middle-earth. Now there will be nothing stopping me from conquering the leaderboards, and my orc army shall devour the world.
No offense to you or your orc army over there, but I think, and this is just a idea I have, but I'm pretty sure that the leaderboards for skirmishes are no longer active, so I'm afraid you can't actually have an army owning the leaderboards.
Curses, you're right. I can't do anything about that. Well, what are these orcs good for? Are you telling me that I've been wasting months on end with extreme research and development trying to create the ultimate Pineleaf orc, and it's all been for nothing? Is that what you're saying, announcer guy?
Yep, that's pretty much what I'm saying.
You don't really know anything, announcer guy. I will send my orcs out nonetheless. Orcs, leave and destroy.
And so, of course, without heeding my warnings, Sauron sent his orcs out into the world, and, well, let's just say there were plenty of players to do PvP with the Pineleaf orcs. And, there are no more Pineleaf orcs in this world. And once again, if there were leaderboards, Pine leaf needles would be at the top, and the orcs would be nowhere to be found. And so I think we have all learned a valuable lesson here today. Never create an orc army out of any of the LOTRO players' staff, or any of the hosts on LOTRO Players News. I think that is pretty much the lesson we learned. Just use orcs. It's a lot simpler, and much more effective, probably. It's probably best you actually don't create any kind of orc army, really. Anyway, if you would like to see more of these audio dramas, you can send an email to lotrofplayers.mymiddleearth@gmail.com, and if enough people send in emails, there could be a chance that this could become its own podcast series and its own podcast feed. Of course, there would be much better plot lines and much better writing, as this was really just a spur-of-the-moment thing by, well, we won't disclose who it is, but let's just say that it's probably the person doing this voice. And if you would like to see more of these, just send an email to lotrofplayers.mymiddleearth@gmail.com specifying that you would like to see more of these episodes. And, well, we just might do that. So thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of LOTRO Players News.
And now on to some of our favorite moments over the last 49 episodes of LOTRO Players News.
It's concerning the saber-tooth, which is apparently...
But it sucks.
It does not. It's good.
No, it isn't.
He's
It's
cute.
awful.
He's furry. He has big teeth to eat you with. What more do you want?
A pet that actually does decent damage.
Well...
How does it smell when it's wet? I don't want something that's just going to reek, to high heaven.
Well, mine smells wonderful, and he saved me more than once, so I like my saber-tooth.
Do you take him with you to the troll shows?
Yes, I take him everywhere.
Okay.
Very well. That tells us that, yes, that the saber-tooth is a little bit on the controversial side.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it. Maybe it's just my one that's bad.
There were plenty of people who agreed with you. There were also several that disagreed, so it's an interesting post for sure.
Right. So therefore...
On an interesting note, actually, that the opening paragraph, which is basically me ranting about it, got mentioned on by Rick.
Yeah, you got quoted on by Sip as well, so it seems Sip is pretty fond of LOTRO players, or at least he's liking to quote you two. This next highlight is a moment that has, well, become quite famous, mostly because Mist has not let it go away. And this is actually a recap of the time when I went out to lunch. I was in the middle of a skirmish with Mist, Pineleaf, and Sprydra. I have since made it up to Mist by doing several skirmishes, but she still will not let the time that I went out to lunch during a skirmish go. So, without further ado, here is a highlight from episode 6 of LOTRO Players News.
And Mist, you talked about your latest means of dying.
Oh, yes. What fun. And you were there for that. Dying by Andang. So, I know it should have been by misadventure, but who goes to lunch in the middle of a skirmish? And that just warrants its own little title. So I succumbed to my wounds by ending. So, and I really think we need to rename the Armansul skirmish and call it Lunch at Armansul.
Lunch at Armansul, yes.
Yes. And I mean, he didn't even say bye. He just left. No word, no nothing. You know, you think, oh, he's just disconnected. He'll be back. We can handle this. But no. Sprydra had to tell us he'd gone to lunch. So, thanks, Andang. But Special thanks to you, Pineleaf, because you found us a safe spot to get out of that skirmish. So,
Yeah.
thank
It
you.
helps if you. Yeah, it helps if you know the skirmish.
Yeah, so, yeah. Thanks, Andang. Love dying. So, but, yeah, lunch at Almond Soul, people. I wouldn't recommend it.
Next up, we have one of my all-time favorite moments, which is when Lizzie basically had free reign to say whatever she wanted to say on our podcast at the end of episode 7 of LOTRO Players News. So here are some of the bloopers that were at the end of that video.
It's funny. Oh, Andang, that's so funny.
Definitely the best
It
DPS
makes me
design
laugh.
I've ever seen.
Always laugh. I always laugh.
Does that mean Andang's a clown because he always makes you laugh?
A little
On his define,
bit
it
he
looks like
does.
one.
That's a nice thing.
No, she doesn't think that's a nice thing.
Well, Miss knows about teaming up with people to die.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Particularly when they go to lunch.
Dear Sig, what on earth is Lizzie talking about?
I have no idea.
Good night, Pineleaf. Good night. Good night, everybody.
Night, Lizzie.
Good night,
Night,
Pineleaf.
Lizzie.
Good night.
Good night, Sig. Who's that one called?
That's probably the best compliment I've had today.
I just don't know who you are.
I'm the one who usually dies for Pine Leaf.
Dies for finally.
Oh, I need to tell Miss something.
Okay, quick.
Miss, can I tell you something?
It has to be quick.
Yes,
Miss,
Lizzie.
remember, Mummy told me your real name, because I know your nickname, it's called Mist, and your real name I just know because she told me. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yeah, she's been spelling mist out. She's been spelling mist out and reading your name.
Yes, well, my real name's Miss Terry, so there you go. Mystery. Anyway, bye, Lizzie.
Bye.
Never got that before.
Well, Mist has at least one fan now, so...
Very well, yes. Also,
Yes, just don't ever get us both in game or I'll kill her off and I'll be back to 0.
Up next, we have Athelros talking about the new areas within Helm's Deep, as we found a map, if you will, of some of the new areas of Helm's Deep that was leaked, and it looked just like the dev map, so we believed it was true, which it turned out it was. And one of the names on there was Stone Deans with a D, but because of the weird lettering, it looked like Beans with a B, and the following is Athelros thinking for sure that it is in fact Stone Beans.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if these are complete names either, because some of them look a bit strange.
Like Stone Beans?
Yeah.
yeah, that does look a little strange.
Yes, and before anyone says it, no, that's not just me misreading it. That was definitely an N. It wasn't stone beams, which would have made a bit more sense, but I don't understand it.
Up next is actually one of the sadder moments for myself and Athelros. It's actually when we bet on when the pre-orders for Helm's Deep would be coming out. And sadly, one of us was wrong, as you can probably imagine, and one of us was very, very right. Even though I did get the release of Helm's Deep right.
Plus, of course, there was the announcement of the pre-orders, which are now in effect.
Speaking of announcing pre-orders, I think Shurs has something to say.
Yes, on the subject of release dates and pre-order dates, I actually entered into a bet with Andang on exactly because on the Thursday when they were announcing it, it was the day before they had an issue with the website where they were showing a link to the Helm's Deep pre-orders, but it wasn't going anywhere yet, and pretty much all the signs were pointing to it happening the next day. So we bet.
Yeah, sure thing, whatever.
Yeah, it was. In the end, we bet 50 in-game gold on
Well, first
Freakside.
of all, I think you approached me with the $20 bet. And then I'm like, well, let's make it a little bit more interesting. Let's make it 40. And then a little bit later, he comes back and he's like, you know what would be great? A nice round number. Let's do 50 gold. That sounds like a really nice number. And I agreed, and so I made it to -2 gold. So, yay! And that's across all my characters. So now I have a net total of -2 after I pay him. So,
congratulations, Ethelros.
Yep, I'm very pleased. Just never go to a casino because I don't think you'll do well there.
So, Ethelros, is now the time to hitch up for a loan for the Fellowship Walk stuff?
Yeah. Be happy to donate the winnings.
So the Fellowship Walk is now 50 gold, Richie. Yay!
Up next, we actually have the first Braxwood reference, which Pineleaf made unknowingly, and little did he know how big of a deal that Braxwood would become over the next several episodes. And Brax didn't even have the heart to tell him until after the show. But without further ado, here is the first Braxwood reference.
LOTRO players at LOTRO players, Andang at PVMP_Andang, Braxwood at Braxwolf, Draculetta at Draculetta_72, Ethelrose at Ethelrose.
The very next episode, episode 19 of LOTRO Players News, we actually see Pineleaf do the second Braxwolf, and it is so much better than the first one. Because it just happened last episode.
You can also follow us at Twitter, LOTRO players at LOTRO players, Andang at PVMP_Andang, Braxwood at Braxwood.
You did it again!
Oh my god.
So today's show title is Braxwood 2. The sequel to Braxwood 1.
Pineleaf, I even spelled it for you at the beginning of the show.
And that's how it's just edited to be Braxwood. That's awesome.
Braxwolf at Braxwolf.
Braxwolf.
Draculetta at Draculetta_72. Ethelrose at Ethelrose.
Pineleaf at Epic Poem Reader. That may or may not be a real Twitter, but you can go ahead and follow it anyway.
If not, it will be soon.
Now, when you say an epic poem reader, is that a poem reader who's epic or a reader of epic poems?
Both.
It's your Twitter handle.
Very well.
Up next, we have my favorite character. Well, here is mine. Hey, do, Mary, do. Tom Bombadil. It's not Time. My favorite character is Tom Bombadil because he's so much fun to do the voice for. Yeah, well, I can't always do the Glewine voice at Elrose, so just be quiet and go back in your corner of the chat room. Come on. Anyway, finally. What's yours?
What? I think Nona will have to.
You're just stealing someone else's answer. Come on.
Oh. Oh boy. I'm sorry, my memory is bad.
Was it because of the voice? I bet it was the voice. I should have done that.
Oh yes, that would really do it quite a bit. Yes, that voice of yours gets me every time.
Pineleaf, the guy who doesn't forget anything about skirmishes, can't remember one NPC story.
Up next, we have possibly the biggest news we have ever gotten on LOTRO Players News.
We have our breaking LOTRO players news.
Wait a minute.
Gotta take this one.
Oh, that's a minor detail. Okay.
Who's going to announce the breaking news?
I think the writer of it should.
Draculetta, you mean?
I guess so. Last week, after the show...
Like, not even like a few seconds. Like, it was immediately after the show, pretty much.
A couple of us were still in the Hangout chatting, and all of a sudden Pineleaf goes, "Oh, okay, that'll work. Okay, it's done." And Anding and I like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Oh, I just signed up for Twitter."
Just so nonchalantly.
Matter of factly, I have a Twitter now.
And so this is such big news that we had to get the story out immediately so that we could be the breaking people on this story, because who knows who could have reported it otherwise outside of the LOTRO Players News Network. So we had to make sure that we were on the spot, and it really is that big, you know, so we had to get on there and get it done. I'm surprised, though, that no big networks picked up the story yet, but they will in time, because this is huge news that Pineleaf Needles already has 50 Twitter followers, and everyone should go follow him at Pineleaf Needles. Up next, the third Braxwood.
And you can also follow us on Twitter. LOTRO Players at LOTRO Players, Anding at PVMP_Anding, Braxwood at Braxwood, Draculetta at...
Are you serious?
What?
Was that on purpose? Because I gotta know.
What's what on purpose?
You said
He doesn't know he did it.
All right.
It's Return of the Braxwood.
At Braxwood. Draculetta at Draculetta_72. Ethelrose at Ethelrose. Mystery at Mystery XOX. And Pineleaf at Pineleaf Needles. Woo. You can join us.
There's a dog.
Up next, we have one of my favorite moments and biggest honors on LOTRO Players News, which was when Chris actually created an audio file after IntPlay was confirmed, and he was only given a couple of days to create this file, and because of how busy it was, thank you so much, Chris, for creating this audio file. I know that you were super busy that week, as you are most weeks, and so thank you so much for taking the time to send in an audio file to our show.
And tonight's top story is IntPlay.
Hey, what are you doing? No, you can't be in here. Get out of here. Hey, don't do that. Oh!
Hey everyone, it's Chris from MMO and LOTRO Reporter here. In honor of the recent announcement by executive producer Aaron Rowan Campbell that there would soon be IntPlay in The Lord of the Rings Online, I thought that I would take this opportunity to do two things. First, I told you so. Second, here are my favorite clips where I have asked Aaron and also Rick Sapiens Heaton about their thoughts on adding IntPlay to the game.
Aaron, IntPlay, is it coming? IntPlay is absolutely coming just for you, Chris. Only for you.
Let's start with the first one. Secret hidden features of Riders of Rohan. IntPlay.
I think we already...
For everyone! No, for everyone!
For everyone.
For everyone.
Chicken in every pot?
Okay, I'm going to take that as a only for me.
Okay.
So, your turn, Bill.
Oh, what happened?
Who was that guy?
Yeah, who was that masked man? Yes, and that is to announce that, yes, executive producer Aaron Campbell has posted a letter telling us about some of the highlights upcoming in Update 13, and part of that will be within the Epic. There will be an optional session play where you can play an Ent.
I told you so.
You can't hear that phrase without thinking about that now.
And now on to some of our poems. Now, we didn't get our first email until episode 19 of LOTRO Players News, partly because we didn't have an email address set up until a few episodes before that. But anyway, within our first email also came our first poem, and this has definitely become a defining feature on LOTRO Players News, and a big thanks to Pineleaf, each and every poem for reading them. It's been absolutely fantastic, and if you have a poem out there that you want to send in, feel free to, and I guarantee you, Pineleaf will read it. But anyway, here is our first email and poem.
We also had an email from Ali who said, "Hi guys, huge fan of the site and podcast. I play on Eldar, Brandywine, and Langeville.
A Pineleaf in the making.
Yes. Really enjoying the RP. Joining Lonely Mountain Band Kinship was a great moment. I love creating storylines for my characters. This is something he wrote, and then he wrote something about the size of Homer's Odyssey." Yes.
Take it away, Pineleaf. We're going to read it. Take it away, Pineleaf.
Very well. "The world was younger and days were bright, long ago, long before the flight. From Gondor to arid Luin I came, not to seek any glory nor any fame. So many perils I faced, minions of Sauron I chased, met the hobbits, reached the Shire, following no personal gain, no desire. Reaching the prancing pony in Bree, seeing dwarves, hobbits, and men free. Stayed at Tom Bombadil's house, found Goldberry too, his spouse. But I had to move on. I couldn't just dwell through Lone Lands and Trolshaws and to Rivendell. Met King Elrond and his sons and other elves, his homely house, his library, and many shelves. Then far over the misty mountains cold, through Goblin Town, being so bold, Moria was my next step. I dreaded the place, but I couldn't drop. The bridge of Khazad-dûm told a sad story. Gandalf fought the fight and fell with glory. I came out in Lorien, my heart was lifted. Negative thoughts went away, my thoughts shifted. Lady Galadriel sent me away with many gifts, lembas bread, and sword and armor that fits. Went to the great river, tired and worn. Found traces of the Nine and a broken horn. I was shaken. The fellowship was broken. The hobbits seen taken. Follow the three or follow the two. Thought to myself, what would Gandalf do? Crossed over to Rohan, saw the evil Saruman, the two towers united, an ally of Sauron. Went to Forlal, met Esteli family, and Lord Aragorn, Prince Legolas, and Gimli. Together we prepare to defend our keep, where Hammerstroke will fall hardest, at Helm's Deep.
Fantastic, Pineleaf. That was an awesome reading of that poem. Thank you so much for that.
That was really good.
That was, and thanks to Ali for sending this in. That was fantastic for this poem. That was a awesome thing. Thank you so much, and thanks for being our first email. Up next, we have my second favorite poem of all time on LOTRO Players News, which is of course the Father Yule poem.
Well, here's a formal request. Pineleaf read "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." I altered it a little to try to fit it with LOTRO. Yes. My Middle-earth lore isn't so great, so I tried to research it a little. Take a look and see what you think. And yes, I read through this quickly, and I noticed that there are a few of the rhymes disappeared during the translation of it.
Did you also notice how long it was, Pineleaf?
Well, of course, because they took the entire poem and converted it.
Yeah, there's actually 2 pages here. So next time when someone else sends in a poem, we will accept shorter poems, but we would prefer that they are at least 3 pages for Pineleaf to read. So please make sure to send those to lotroplayers.mymiddleearth@gmail.com, where we will receive your amazing poem emails for Pineleaf to read.
Don't have to start another podcast just for reading poems.
We can, if enough poems come in. So, just throwing that out there.
Right.
Pineleaf has no say in this.
Pineleaf presents poetry, huh?
He's already got the name. All right, we're good.
Yeah. He wants to do it. This
To
prick.
register the UL. Yeah.
Now you just need that Twitter, Pineleaf.
Any closing thoughts?
No, you're gonna read this poem.
Oh, you really want me to actually read it? Okay.
Yeah, come on.
Very well. 'Twas the night before Yuletide, and all through Hobbit Hole not a creature was stirring, not even a pesky shrew. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that Father Christmas would be there. The baby hobbits were nestled all snug in their beds, with visions of second breakfasts danced in their heads. Mom in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled down for a long winter's nap. When out in the clover field there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash. The cloud-racked moon of the breast of the new-fallen snow gave the luster of midday to objects below, when what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny hearts, with a little old driver so lively and quick. Well, I knew in a moment it must be Father Yule. More rapid than eagles, his coursers they came, and he whistled, and he shouted, and he called them by name. On Dasher! On Dancer! On Prancer and Vixen! On Comet! On Cupid! On Donder and Blixen! To the top of the porch! To the top of the wall! Now dash away, dash away, dash away all! As dried leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle mount to the sky, so up to the rooftop the hearts they flew, with a sleigh full of toys, and snacks, and Father Yule too. And then in a twinkling I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof, as I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney Father Yule came with a bound. He was dressed all in conies from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys and snacks he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples so merry, his cheeks were like amaranths, and his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up in a bow, and his beard to his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke from the pipeweed, it encircled his head like a wreath. He had his broad face, and a little round belly, and he shook as he laughed, ho, 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 like a bowl full of jelly, ho, 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 ho. He was chubby and plump, a right mirth-gaffer elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink in his eyes and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, and turned with a jerk, and laid his finger to the side of his nose, and giving a nod up the chimney, he rose. He sprang to a sleigh, and to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim as he drove out of sight, Happy Yuletide to all! And to all, good night.
Now, when can we expect the audiobook for this, Pineleaf? Because this is fantastic. I mean, seriously, if I could read half that good, I mean, that's just amazing. Thank you so much, Pine Leaf, and thank you so much, Blackjack, for sending that in. And finally, what is many of the host's favorite moment, the orc on my fork poem. Pine Leaf.
Yes.
I think that there might be a poem.
Oh, yes, there is a rumor that there is a poem here. Very well. And it is called Orc.
With a K.
Yes, with a K. But I'm not going to say with a K every time I say orc in this book.
There is an orc with a K on my fork.
There is an orc on my fork. Is a bit of a dork, called Mork from York. Feeds off pork and cork. All works like a roar roark. That's orc on my fork. Working, forking pork. No pokem and no pokem pork. Porque. That's Spanish. Porque. Porque? No say. Work. Cork. That orc on my fork. Forked tongue, orc twisted. Torqued, norking, sork, and zork. Corky, orky, orky, torque. Forking mad, that orc. On my fork.
Oh, that was awesome.
Closest you've ever come to swearing on the
Oh, I'm literally crying from laughing so hard.
That was almost Dr. Seuss.
That was awesome. More Sue. Please give us more.
Oh, no.
I lost it at forking.
Oh, boy.
That was great.
You can contact us.
Wait. Finish the email.
Oh. Keep on LOTRO playing soup.
Finally, I'd just like to say thank you. Thank you once again for supporting LOTROplayers.com. It is really a dream come true, and I couldn't have done it without every single one of you that listen to this podcast, that visit our site, that help host the various shows. Thank you all so much, and thank you for 50 episodes of LOTRO Players News. Here's to another 50.